Have you ever tasted home canned tomatoes fresh from the garden? I've canned 7 quarts. I'm going to can 7 more. I'd like to bring you along and show you how it's done. You'll never taste anything more delicious or flavorful to put in your meals. It tastes so much better than store-bought, and it's not hard to do. I'm sure most of you grow your own. So come along with me and I'll show you how it's done. Here's my beautiful Utah tomatoes that are all ready to be canned up. First step we're going to do is blanch them in some boiling water. You take these tomatoes, you put them in this boiling hot water for just 1 minute, and then after a minute's up, take them out and put them in cold water in your sink. I've got the water heating up. It's not ready yet, it's not boiling, but as soon as it boils, the tomatoes are going in and then they'll be put in my sink. I've got my tomatoes blanched and I put them in cold water in my sink. Now I'm ready to peel them. I'm going to peel them all up and quarter them and put them in my jars. After I put them in the jars, there's a couple things you need to add to the tomatoes. A teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. The reason for this is tomatoes are a high acid food, and tomatoes need to have an added acid to them when you can them for them to be able to be water bath canned. So 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. You can use citric acid also if you'd rather use that. And so I'm going to get these ready and in my jars, and then I'll bring you back when I'm at that point and show you how they look. There's a couple of things I wanted to tell you. After I get my jars filled, I use this debubbler and I go around the outside of the jar to make sure that I have all the bubbles out. And it's important when you're canning to find out what the headspace of the product is that you're canning. I leave a 1/2 inch headspace, or I mean an inch. I leave an inch headspace for tomatoes. But I want to show you, these tomatoes are raw packed with no liquid. The tomatoes make their own liquid. This one is the one that I just got ready to put in the canner. You can see there's already some liquid at the bottom. This is the one that I've already canned. And if you look at it, you can see all of the liquid that's in the jar from the tomatoes themselves. There's a little bit at the top that doesn't have liquid in it, and that's perfectly fine. Those tomatoes will be just fine. You just process them for the amount of time you're supposed to with some salt and lemon juice or citric acid, and they turn from this to this. You want to pack the jars as tight as you can. See how many tomatoes I have mushed in there? You want to pack them pretty tight because after you're done canning, they evaporate some and make the liquid, and then you'll have less tomatoes in the jar. So I try to pack my jars really tight. And let me show you. Here are my jars that I've put in the water bath canner already. Before I fill the jars, this is where I put my jars. I put my jars in the water bath canner and heat them up to 180 degrees. And then when I'm ready to fill them, I take them out of my water bath canner, fill them, do all the other steps I've told you. I put my lids on, my rings on, and just tighten it to fingertip tight. And then I put all of my jars inside the canner. Now this canner is going to have a little bit more liquid. Let me get this one that I have canned and put in there. Let's put it in and see. See, you need to have at least 1 inch of water above the jars. So I'll fill this up to 1 inch above the jars, and then I'll start my canner to start boiling on high. Now with tomatoes, they take quite a long processing time. I'm going to process this at 95 minutes for my altitude. I live at 6,000 feet and so it's a high processing time, the highest there is. And so I will process these and bring them out and show you how beautiful and wonderful they'll be when they're finished. I just wanted to show you a picture in my jars of tomatoes. I just took them out of the hot water bath. I hot water bath these. You can pressure can tomatoes too, but I just went ahead and water bath. And if you look closely, let me see if I can zoom in, you can see that they're just bubbling away. They're very hot. See how they're bubbling? They're going to be really, really good for my pantry though. I'm thinking maybe I may take some of these and after the canning season is over, all the tomatoes and the fresh produce, and I'm done canning maybe this winter, I will use some of these to make some homemade barbecue sauce and some homemade chili. We'll see how that works out, but I'll bring you along if I do. Anyway, that's how you can these beautiful, gorgeous tomatoes.